Welcome to the Fit.Family podcast. In this podcast, I just want to talk a little bit about health, fitness, nutrition, parenting, basically things along those lines. I want to first get into a little bit of who I am. I have on and off been involved in fitness for most of my life, starting off as a generally active kid, then moving into doing a couple unofficial sports, doing a little bit of acrobatics, tumbling, Ninja Warrior, stuff like that when I was a teenager, then kind of transitioning into a little bit more CrossFit, and kind of through all that I was kind of taking breaks here and there. It wasn't super consistent, never really followed nutrition, never really paid attention to that. Eventually moved to thinking I wanted to become a Navy SEAL, so primarily for that summer I did a lot of working out, a lot of training. That was probably the most my training has kind of been dialed in, or had been at that point the most my training had been dialed in, but a lot of times it kind of failed on me, or I kind of, crept away from that a little bit, got a little bit less regular, less consistent, things like that. Kind of have always been a small, skinny person. Never really liked that, but kind of through working out tried to get bigger, tried to get stronger. I've always been kind of weak. So kind of always tried to use working out to try to fix that, but it never really did that much. So then about 3 years ago, coming up this November, so in a couple of weeks, 3 years ago, I decided to take everything seriously, decided to take my nutrition seriously, decided to take my fitness seriously, kind of dove into YouTube, studied a lot of YouTube videos, studied a lot, listened to a lot of different people, kind of worked out, tried to figure out what was good advice for me, what was bad advice, kind of basically taught myself how to train, how to work out. After doing that for about a year, I decided, you know what, I love doing this. I had been a coach at a Ninja Warrior gym for about 5 years at that point. I'm up to working there about 7 years now. But about 5 years at that point, loved coaching, loved teaching kids, primarily is what I was teaching. But I kind of wanted to broaden and actually be certified as a personal trainer. So kind of took that step, became certified as a personal trainer, continued learning on my own. And then about 9 months, well, not about 9 months ago, coming up on 10 months ago, I had my daughter. And that's kind of when I realized fitness for myself had to change a lot. So I realized that I was working out like a bodybuilder, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was helping me get bigger. It was helping me get stronger. I was building muscle mass. All of those things were good. My nutrition was pretty on point. But I realized that being a parent required different things of me. It required me to be able to squat, holding, my daughter or weight on one side, pick things up. And I realized, kind of translated to the real world, there's a whole bunch of weird moves. So I started slowly incorporating more functional training, and not functional in kind of the gimmicky, weird, like stand on a BOSU kind of typical stuff you see as functional, and more focused on like holding weight on one side and doing squats or sandbags and sprinting and carries and things like that translated to real world stuff that I was actually going to be doing. And so with doing that, I realized instead of coaching people in a purely bodybuilding way, my niche was focused on parents. How can I get parents in and out of the gym quickly? How can I get them using either their child or whatever weights they have available to them? How can I make their workouts super functional to them? I struggle to do these motions. I feel weak in these motions. I feel out of breath when I do these type things. Let me tailor these workouts specifically to parents and talk specifically to parents. So that's kind of when I switched my coaching brand and my social media and all to Fit.Family. Instead of being general fitness stuff, it was kind of primarily to the family, specifically to parents. So that's a little bit about myself, a little bit of my backstory as far as when it comes to where I have kind of gotten my fitness knowledge, my fitness story. First topic I want to talk about from there is, and primarily today, is how to work out and become your own personal trainer in the gym. In episode 2, I haven't fully planned it yet, but my thought concept is talk about the nutrition, how you can be your own nutritionist, and not nutritionist like certified, but how do you know how to kind of generally pay attention to nutrition for yourself, some things to look at. But today, specifically focusing on what you can do in the gym, how to structure your own workouts, kind of basically a quick real life personal training certification without the actual certification. First thing I want to talk about is movement patterns. So there are specific movements that you should be doing when you are into fitness, and how you specifically structure these doesn't matter as long as you kind of it doesn't matter as much as long as you are hitting certain movement patterns. The first one that I want to talk about is push, and this is the concept of whenever you take weight or resistance and you push it away from your body. So for example, if you do a bench press, which is where you lay down on your back and you take the weight from your chest and you push it straight up. That is a bench press, and that is a push exercise because the weight is starting close to you and pushing it away from yourself is the point that is difficult and the point that you're struggling with, or the point that is the struggle and the resistance. So it is a push exercise. Anytime you push like an overhead press, you take something weight from your shoulders and you push it straight over the top of your head, that would be a push exercise. Any push-up motion would be obviously a push-up exercise because you're using your body weight as the resistance and you're pushing yourself from close to the ground, using your hands to push away from the ground. Now, all of these have been upper body examples of push exercises. You also have lower body examples of push exercises. So a squat is a very common push leg, or a leg push exercise. A lunge would be a push exercise. There is also pull exercises. So push is one pattern, pull is your next category that I kind of want you to think about. And that's the exact opposite as push, and that's when the weight starts further away from your body and you're pulling it closer to yourself. So you can think about like a row, when you take weight from, on like a cable, and you reach out in front of you and your arms are fully stretched out in front of you and you pull that cable towards your chest. Or you hang from a pull-up bar and you pull your body from a hanging position and you pull yourself closer to the bar to do a pull-up, would be examples of a pull exercise. Those would be upper body. Once again, lower body pull exercises would be things like a deadlift. And so that's where the weight starts on the ground. You're standing up, so you reach down, you grab the barbell or the dumbbells, and then you're standing up. You're pulling the weight from the ground to closer to your body, so it's a lower body pull exercise. So you have push, pushing weight away from yourself. Pull, pulling weight towards yourself is two different. And then you also have rotation is your other form of movement, way to move. So this is any kind of spinning, any type of rotation from your core. So taking weight, shifting weight from one side of your body to the other. Things like kettlebell side swings, where you're holding the kettlebell in two hands. You kind of bend over a little bit at the hips, and you kind of twist your torso and swing the kettlebell side to side. So it's kind of like swinging past your legs. It kind of looks like you're a clock pendulum. Your arms are a clock pendulum going back and forth. That would be a way where your core's twisting. Anytime you do like a Russian twist, so you lay on your back and you lift weight from one side of your body and lift it over your body and kind of twist to the other side, would be like a Russian twist, would be kind of rotation. So those are the ways to kind of think about movements. As long as you have those kind of three movements, then you should be able to pretty much hit all of your body. Now, some don't neatly fall into this, so this is just a general guideline. because you have like lateral raises, which kind of you take the weight from your leg and you pull it out to the side. It's kind of a it's kind of a push exercise, but you're kind of pulling it off to the side, so it gets a little confusing. You kind of have weird exercises here and there, like bicep curls. You go from your legs to your shoulders, so it's kind of like, well, which one does it fall into? You're pushing it away from your legs towards your shoulders, and it just takes time to realize, well, that's your biceps, and that's working the same muscles as like a row or a pull-up, so that's kind of fits in the same category as a pull exercise. So as you kind of experiment and learn more on your own, you kind of figure out where those niche exercises go. And there's also combinations. So one is not always the same for everything. You can do like a squat clean would be an example of a pull and a push, because you're taking the weight from the ground, you're pulling it off the ground, but then you kind of spin your wrist around and catch it by your shoulders and kind of squat down to get under the bar, and then you stand up in a squat. So you're kind of initially pulling it, and then the last part of it is pushing it. There's some exercises you can kind of pull and twist, so you could do like a single arm row where you also are kind of twisting your torso, and you can rotate your body that direction and spin. So there's combinations, but generally, as long as you think push with your upper body, push with your lower body, pull with your upper body, pull with your lower body, and rotation, then you're pretty much going to hit all of your movements, all of your muscle groups that you're going to need for your fitness. Next thing I kind of want to talk about is progressive overload. Now, progressive overload is basically a fancy way of talking about how to make sure you are continually pushing yourself to get stronger. Basically, how your muscles grow and how you strengthen yourself is you need to require something of your body. You need to put in effort so that it is difficult. And that signals to your muscles that we're too weak for this exercise, we're struggling to move this weight or this resistance, I need to get stronger. So your muscles will break down, your muscles will grow back stronger, and that's what causes them to grow in size, grow in strength, grow in speed, all of these things. So if you continually do the exact same weight and the exact same rep and don't change anything, initially you will be getting stronger, but then you will slowly kind of drop off how much strength you will be gaining from that, because your body's like, well, now this is easy, this must be the perfect amount of strength that this person needs, I'm not going to grow any stronger, I'm going to kind of tone it back a little bit. And you don't want that, because obviously you want to keep getting stronger, keep wanting to push forward. So to do that, you need to apply something called progressive overload. And there's lots of ways to do this, but the two main ways you should worry about right now is increasing the reps, increasing the weights. So reps is anytime you do like a single motion of that exercise. So like I was saying earlier, a bicep curl, you kind of hold the weight by your legs, you keep your elbows at the same place, and you kind of pull or curl the weight up to your shoulders. If you do 12 reps of that with a 20-pound dumbbell, then the next week you should try to see if you get it to 13, and the week after that 14, and the week after that 15. Now if you keep doing that, eventually you're going to be doing 100, 200 reps with a 20-pound dumbbell. So what you want to do eventually is you kind of want to put a cap on that. You want to look at reps in a range. Once you reach the top end of that range, let's say your top end is 15, then you will want to increase the weight, which is the other way you can do progressive overload. So maybe you'll go from a 20-pound dumbbell to a 25-pound dumbbell. Maybe you'll go back to 10 reps with that 25 instead of 15. And then the next week you try to get 11, and the next week you try to get 12. That's always the goal. It's never going to happen every single week, especially after you kind of get through initially you'll be able to increase reps and weight every single week. Eventually, as you work harder, it will get harder and harder, so it might be a couple of weeks before you can increase another rep. But as long as the goal is to increase the rep and then eventually increase the weight again, then that is a good way to think about progressive overload. So always think about how you can push yourself further, how you can keep working, how you can keep basically giving your body stimulus to grow stronger and stronger, build bigger and bigger muscles, get fitter and fitter, and things like that. So that's basically what you need to know about progressive overload. I then want to talk about kind of scheduling your workout days and scheduling your rest. As I talked about with your workouts and how building muscle works, is you apply stress to the muscle. The muscle realizes that it needs to get stronger because of that stress, and so then it kind of breaks itself down, builds itself back up stronger. When it's building itself back up is when you are resting. It can't build itself back up, at least as effectively, if you are continually working that muscle. So resting is extremely important. You break the muscle down when you work out, which is important and essential, but then you need to give it time to rest in order to actually see those results and actually give your body the option to grow and to get stronger. You can think about rest in two different categories. You can think about specific muscles needing rest, and then you can think about your body as a whole needing rest. And one is not necessarily more important than the other. They're both super important, and they're both, and the reason I'm talking about rest first is because rest is a big thing that you want to pay attention to on scheduling your days. What you want to do is you want to take muscular rest. So, for example, if you do a lot of pull exercises, which would work your back and your biceps primarily, when you do a lot of pull exercises, you want to rest that muscle for at least bare minimum 24 hours, but up to 48 hours to be, really safe. That would be a good idea to rest that. So you wouldn't want to do a back exercise and then a bicep exercise back to back. You would want 2 different days. You would want to spread them out over, a couple of days. It would be a better idea to, hit back, and then the next day do a lot more push exercises where you're pushing the weight away from yourself. So that's specific muscular rest. And then you want whole day rest. And that means days where you don't do any resistance training, period. And that's also really important, that you just give your whole body a rest. And when I say your whole body needs rest, that does not mean you sit on the couch and you don't do absolutely anything. There's this idea of active rest, which is very, very important. Active rest means you're moving around a lot, you're doing a lot of active things, but you're not necessarily doing specific resistance training, you're not pushing your body hard. So maybe you go on a walk, maybe you play a little relaxed basketball game with your friends, maybe you just move around the house a lot. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but just moving around. The studies show that actually active rest and resting, but not just sitting on the house resting, can be extremely beneficial to keeping blood flow moving, to really help you rest and recover and be able to strengthen that body part. So I don't think you have to sit on the couch and do absolutely nothing, because if you move your muscles, you're not going to get the benefits. No, you just don't want to apply a lot of stress to the muscles, otherwise it'll continue breaking it down, and you need to break it down, build it up, then break it down again. If you just break it down, and don't give it a chance to rebuild itself, then that's not going to benefit you quite as much. So I really do push active rest. And how many days a week you need to take that rest is very personal to you and what you can handle. I am someone who can handle 6 days of working out and then 1 day of rest, but my body can just handle that. Other people do a lot better with only working out 2 or 3 times a week, and all of those other days are rest. There is no right or wrong. Studies show that you want to work at least 2 times a week, That's kind of the minimum. If you work out once a week, then you leave a lot on the table. If you work out twice a week, you can still get a large majority of the results. So don't think, I'm going to build more muscle if I work out 6 days a week instead of 3. Not necessarily, because if your body can't recover from it, then it's not going to be nearly as beneficial for you. So you kind of have to do that experimenting. Also take into account your time. Maybe you only have time to work out 3 days a week. Maybe 6 your body can handle, but 3 is what you can make work in your schedule. Then just do 3. There's not a problem with that. Don't think you're leaving all of these gains and these results on the table by doing that. So scheduling your workout days, there's a couple of ways you can categorize them. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. But there's a couple different traditional ways that people split up their exercises. People a lot of times will do a push-pull leg split, is a very popular one, especially now. And that's when you do upper body push exercises. So anytime your upper body is pushing weight away from yourself, doing bench presses, doing tricep extensions, doing overhead presses, push-ups, things like that. So doing those exercises on one day. Then the next time you work out, either the next day or have a rest day, then do one, is pull. So that's when you're taking weight and you're pulling it towards yourself with your upper body. So upper body pull days. So doing pull-ups, you're doing rows, you're doing bicep curls, those type exercises. Then you're either jumping into your next day, workout day, or you are resting, depending on how you're dividing that up. And then you're doing legs. And because legs are kind of separate, you can do both push and pull exercises for your legs. So you can do squats where you're doing push exercises. For your legs, you can do pull, so RDLs or Romanian deadlifts, regular deadlifts, hamstring curls, leg extensions. Basically any exercise that works your legs on another day. And like I said, how you divvy that up in the week is determined on how many rest days. You can do push, rest, pull, rest, legs, rest, and just keep alternating with that. Some people like doing push day, pull day, leg day, rest, push day, pull day, leg day, rest, and keep that alternation. Some people who can do a little bit more like doing push, pull, legs, then have a rest day if they can handle a little bit more. So don't think there's a right or wrong way, but that is one way to categorize it, is push, pull, leg split. Another common one that you'll hear is doing upper lower. So this is where you do push exercises and pull exercises for your upper body, and you would do all upper body, push and pull. Then the next day or a rest day, and then you would do push and pull for your legs, and then you'll do push and pull for your upper body, and then push and pull for your legs. Another way you can do it is bro split, and that's where you basically hit specific muscle groups every single day. And this is where you'd have to figure out which exercises hit specific muscle groups, which I haven't talked about in this, but there are plenty of resources out there to figure that out. But you would work back one day, biceps one day, shoulders one day, legs one day. You divvy it up, and then you rest, and then you do the same thing again. There's also all kind of combinations of these, so don't think you have to fit one of these particular ones. There's all kinds of different categories, all kinds of different examples, different ways to be flexible with it, but these are just a couple of ideas. Now, the problem with most modern day fitness is there's not a lot of rotation in the exercises. So there's that rotation I mentioned was a big portion of movements that you should be hitting. It's really important in strengthening that core. It really helps in injury prevention, which I'm not going to go into, how important I think core rotation is, but it is very, very important in fitness, in my opinion. And so how you add that in is kind of up to you. Maybe you'll do push-pull legs split, but you'll add it to push-pull legs rotation. You have a whole day of rotation. Maybe you do push one day, at the end of your push day, you do a rotational exercise. And then you do your pull day and you add another rotational day to that. And then a rotation for your legs. And you do 1 or 2 rotational exercises for every single day. You can divide it up how you want to. You can do upper body, rotation, lower body. You see how you can have all of these different examples. I'm throwing just out different ways to organize it in your head. This is a lot of stuff I've talked about at this point comes down to self-experimentation. I'm trying to give you guys the building blocks to create a workout, but then you need to figure out the specifics of how you want it to work, how you want to work out on your own. So try one, see how you like it, see how your body reacts to a certain plan that you've written, certain way to organize your workouts, certain selection of exercises, and then move on to if you like it, keep doing it. If you like elements of it, keep doing those elements and switch up the elements you don't like. So you feel like you're not getting enough rest, add in an additional rest day. You feel like, you could do more rest and that you are kind of under, you feel like you have more in the tank, add in a workout day. Do more volume. You don't like hitting certain muscle groups together, you feel like your body's lacking in a way, well, switch up when you're working on things. There's endless ways to switch that up, and honestly, that will be, if you continue working out, which I really hope that once you start you're able to, if you keep working out, you will constantly be tweaking things, depending on the season of your life, depending on what you're learning, depending on how your body's changing. I switch up my workouts between every 4 weeks to every 12 weeks, depending on how long I write my plan for. But I switch up my workouts to give myself variety, but also because I'm like, I didn't like that thing from my plan, and I can stick it out 4 weeks, so I'm going to change it for next week. Switch it up. You'll constantly be switching it up. That's one of the cool things about fitness, is it's such a element of self-exploration and figuring out what your body needs, what your body does well at, and you can kind of really figure it out from there. One thing I want to touch on a little bit is a lot of these things with progressive overload, scheduling your days, can be applied to cardio. I don't want to go into cardio deeply, but you can think of progressive overload increasing the intensity of your cardio, increasing the duration, even to some degree adding weight to your cardio, by putting on weighted vests. But cardio is a very important part, but in this I was speaking more on the resistance portion of cardio, but don't lack the cardio portion of it. Maybe I'll do a full podcast on cardio as well. But just to go over certain movement patterns that you shouldn't be skipping. Push for your upper body and your lower body. Pull for your upper body and your lower body. And then rotation, making sure you're doing your spinning, your core bracing, all of those kind of things. Progressive overload is the next thing we talked about. Talking about increasing how many reps you do, increasing the weight over time so that you can continue to push yourself to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and you have less plateaus in that way. And then it was scheduling days. By dividing your days up into push days, pull days, upper body days, lower bodies, dividing it up by muscle group. There's a lot of different ways. And then how you rest. Making sure you're not working out muscles back to back, making sure you're resting those specific muscles, but then also making sure you're resting your whole body is kind of the last thing we talked about, and then a little bit about cardio as well. But I hope you found this podcast helpful to you as you maybe step into working out, as you just try to start it. I hope that you can kind of take these bare bones skeleton of how to create a workout. You can research more on YouTube. I have a lot out on YouTube where you can kind of look at different training, different exercises, different mock workouts if you scroll through my shorts on YouTube or Instagram. I'm Fit.Family on those, or TikTok Fit.Family. You can find me. I'm finding all of those specific workouts. If you go to my website, which will be in the description of this podcast, I can create custom workouts for you. So if you like this and maybe even eventually want to do it, but you want to kind of see a live reason of it, and then also sometimes I don't have any current, but I'm working on a parent program, a pre-programmed. It has videos. It has a pre-programmed plan. It'll be a little bit cheaper than me creating a custom plan for you, but it's not tailored to you. So I have those options: tailored to you plans, and then also pre-planned programs sometimes as well. You can go on there and you can either message me for a custom plan or order the pre-programmed plan if you just want to see this program in action. I also have written a full year's worth of workouts in a book form. So if you go to Amazon, I have a book called Starting Your Fitness Journey by Mason Troutman. So if you go on Amazon, you order that book, it's $9.99, so you can follow that book, read through different workout plans, structure it, or figure out that structure, follow an actual plan, know what exercises to do. There's glossary in the back for you to look up how to do all of those exercises. Those are some resources for you to kind of take forward, go in the future, use in the future. Also feel free to message me. I'd be happy to help you guys out. But once again, hope you guys enjoyed that podcast. Hope it was helpful to you guys. Stay tuned. Next week I will be posting another podcast. It'll be probably more nutrition based, how you can eat to fuel your body, lose weight, gain strength, stay healthy, all of those type of topics. So hopefully we will hear from you next week, and hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day and rest of your week.